Right, okay, so we're going to do a warm-up and we're going to do a circuit of 5 exercises today, and we're going to do a minute again of each exercise. Do the circuit 3 times. I have got weights today, but obviously you don't need to use them, but there's a few exercises that you can include weights into if you want to, but we're going to start off with a warm-up anyway. So we just start off with our feet fairly wide apart, and we're just going to bend to the side. So when you're bending, just make sure that that hand is just sliding down the leg, and we're not leaning forwards or back. We're trying to keep in a nice neutral position as we go from side to side, just moving into the side body. This might feel nice if your sides are a little bit sore. And then we just take one arm over, and instead of reaching over, we're reaching up and then shifting the hips and reaching over a little bit. So we're trying to get that stretch and release through the side body and keeping all of this side body in neutral. So we're making sure, again, we're not leaning forward and back. So reach up again and then over. And then we'll come back to center, and then we'll do the other side. So we're just going to reach up, stretch up as much as you can before going over to the side. And keeping breathing as well when you're in this position. We don't want any weight on this leg either. This hand should be fairly free. And then coming back up to center, and then we'll just take the hands, clasp them together, and press those hands up towards the ceiling. Just nice big stretch all through the trunk. And then just turn to one side, back to center, and then turn to the other. Pressing the hands away from you. We'll just go to the other side again. So press up, twist, and then press up again once you're there. It's back to center, press up, twist, and then press your hands up again. And then back to center. Okay, and then we're going to lower the hands down, come into a low squat, and just moving from side to side. And then we're just going to stay and open the hips. So just, if you can, place one hand on the floor and then just press the other knee away from you. So you're trying to open up into the hip area. And then the other hand on the floor, just place the elbow, kind of push that knee back and then press away with the other hand. And then we'll just move from side to side a little bit more. And then start straightening the legs a little bit. Still moving from side to side. And then we're just going to roll up. Okay. And then just take one leg back into a reverse lunge. So make sure your feet aren't on a tightrope. They're in line with your hips, roughly. And lunge. We're just going to bend that front knee and then turn towards the bent knee. So we're twisting again through the upper body. And then we can twist the other way as well. When you twist the other way, think about making sure that knee doesn't drop in. So the front knee, make sure that that stays out. You can use your hand there if you want to, just to push it. Just looking back the other way. And then we're going to take the other leg back. Remember, keeping a nice stable base for you. And then we're going to turn to look over the bent knee. And then just turning the other way. You can use your hand if you want to stop that other knee, the front knee, from dropping in. And then coming back to center. And then we're just going to step our feet back into a down dog position. So hands on the floor, pressing into the hands, pushing the hips back. And then just pedaling through the feet. And then you can press back a little bit more now. Trying to get the chest towards the knees, well, the thighs. Pressing through the fingertips, engaging the shoulders as well here, so we're not trying not to lock out through the elbows, keeping a little bit of bend in there. Then we can pedal out again. And then pressing back. And then just come down onto all fours into a cat position. And we'll shrug the shoulders up and around. So we're kind of making a train movement with the shoulders. So I'll just show you from the side this is what you're aiming to do. But on all fours. So kind of shrugging and rotating through the shoulders and moving into that, getting blood flowing in that area as well. And then we can go in the opposite direction, whichever way you're going, just switch directions. Keeping that bend in the elbow a little bit. And then we'll just press back into the hips and just move from side to side. So press the fingertips into the mat or the carpet, the floor, and just move your hips from side to side, pressing the hips back at the same time. So again, we're getting blood flowing into those hip areas and mobilizing the joints around that area. Okay, and then we're going to come up to standing and we're going to start our first exercise. So our first exercise today is going to be a lateral lunge. So we're going to be stepping from side to side. So you can either have your hands across your chest, or if you want to use a weight, you can grab your weight. When you're picking your weights up, especially with kettlebells, just make sure you're engaging to pick it up properly. And we're going to do a minute to each side. So just lunging from side to side. Nice and strong. We're doing a minute today, so it might feel like a little bit longer than usual. And sometimes if you are using a weight at the middle, it's not the legs that are a challenge. It's because we have to hold, especially with a kettlebell, you're having to hold it up here. So it can be quite tough. We've got 20 seconds. A few more left. Okay, and back to center. So we can then lower your weight or just come back to the middle. We're going to do a squat next. So I'm just going to grab my squat weight. And then we're doing a minute. So with the kettlebell, what you can do to keep it safe is we just hop it up like this. And then we can squat. Sitting back, trying to keep a nice neutral spine. So we're leaning forwards, pushing the hips back. Try not to round out through that spine. And just looking a little way ahead of you so that your neck is neutral. And that your spine is not compromised in any way. You can go nice and low. We're nearly there, we've got a few more left. And that's the last one, so we just hop the weight back down. When you lower it, just squat down to place it back on the floor. And then Our next exercise is going to be a push-up to row. So there's various ways of doing this. We can do it in a modified press up. So we press up and then bring the hand to the shoulder. Alternate both hands like that. So we go one, then the other. Pressing up, shoulder tap, shoulder tap. You might need something under your knees if it's a bit sore, or we can do it in a full press up. Finger tap, or if you have weights, if you find doing it easy in a full press up, and you have got little dumbbells, then this is another option. You can include weights in it. But what we're aiming for is making sure we're not rocking too much from side to side, to make sure that you stabilize through the core. We can have quite a nice wide base with the feet. And when we do that rowing action, we're trying not to twist too much. Okay, so I'll probably do a few with weights and a few not, because it's quite hard. Okay, so we're going to go a minute. So it's longer than usual. So when we come into that row, just trying to keep even pressure on the points of contact that are on the floor. Lifting towards your shoulder. We're halfway through. So if you want to modify, you can do. I'm going to modify. Take the weights out for a few. Shoulder tap. We've got one more left. And then we can release. And then we're going to stay in this position and go into mountain climbers. So we'll just take a little breather quickly. Just push back, forwards a little bit just to ease out. And then we're going to come into a plank position. And then we'll be bringing our knees in between the arms. So pressing the fingers, pressing the palms into the ground. So you've got that nice stable base. And looking down at the floor so that your spine's in neutral, or fairly neutral. So we're engaging through the core. We're just over halfway through. It's feeling tough today. Okay, 10 seconds left. Well done. Okay, and then releasing down. So the next exercise we're going to be standing up for. So we'll come up to stand, and we're going to do a single leg deadlift, which you can either do with your arms out and leaning forwards, lifting that leg up behind, trying to keep the hips nice and stable, or we can introduce a weight into it. If you're happy and pretty stable with that, don't make it a big weight. It doesn't need to be big, but we can have a weight and just aim to kind of touch down or get close to the floor with that. Okay, so we're going to do one side, a minute on one side and then a minute on the other. So when you're ready, just leaning forward, making sure that those hips nice and level, arms out to the side to help you balance. If you get wobbly, that's okay, we're halfway through. It's amazing how much difference those extra few seconds do make when you get used to doing a certain time. Okay, this will be the last one on this side. Okay, so we're going to swap sides now. Just lowering the weight, and again, you might find one side is wobbly. This side seems to be a little bit wobbly for me, probably why I started on the other side. You tend to go for your easy side first. And when you notice that kind of thing, like you always go for one side first, sometimes a good thing to do is to mix it up. So notice you're going for that side and go for the other side first. Well done, we've got a few more left. Okay, last one. And then release. Okay, so we're going to come back to our lateral lunge, either with or without weight. So remember picking your weight up, just squat down and bring it into the right position. Then we're going to go from side to side, lateral lunge. It's getting very warm in here today. I need the windows open. Keeping that weight close into you as well, if you have got a weight with you. 10 seconds. And back to center. Okay, and then we're going to go onto our squat. So just putting your weight down safely. And then picking up if you're changing weights. And then we're just squatting. A minute nice and low. Pushing the bottom back. Leaning forward, looking at this point a little way ahead of you, thinking about neutral spine. Keeping that weight in close. Ooh, much harder with the weight. And that's your last one. So just safely putting your weight down. And then we're going down onto the floor for our push-up to row. So choose which version you want to do. I'm going to make it a bit easier this time. And we're pressing up, touching the shoulders. Nice wide base with your feet. That helps with the movement from side to side. I'm trying to get the hands underneath the shoulders. We're halfway through, so if you want to modify, you can do, or you might want to try a few harder ones if you've been doing easier ones, or you might just need a rest. as well. And that's your last one. So we'll just ease back onto the hips again. Just allowing the belly to kind of release onto the floor or towards the floor. Because we're going into mountain climbers next, which is going to feel tough after those press ups. Okay, so I'm going to go into the plank position and just bringing the knees in between the hands. Lifting the hips up, pressing through the shoulders, and keeping a little bit of bend in the elbows as well. Keep it going. We're halfway there. We're just over. That's a bit of a break. So that was 40 seconds. And you can come back in. Keep breathing, looking down at the floor, nice neutral neck. And release down, well done. That's tough. Okay, and then we're going to come up to our single leg deadlift next. So either with a weight or without, it's up to you. Do on one side and then the other. So just one arm out for stability. I'm going to try and start with the other hand this time. We're just leaning forward and then coming back. So really, if you are using a weight, you need to be really careful that you are really nice and stable through the core here. Because if you're twisting too much and not able to stabilize through there, then it could be a little bit risky for your back. And release. So next, other side. So swap your weight over, or just swap your hand that's going out for balance over. So it could be that the reason that one side is harder than the other is to do with flexibility. Sometimes it's tighter on one side than the other. And it's normal, everybody is like that. We've all got our own imbalances in the body. Okay, we've got one more, I think. And lift up. Okay, brilliant. So we're going back to the beginning of the circuit now. Oops. And we're going to do our lateral lunge. So if you want to pick your weight, pop it up. And then we're going from one side to the other. Nice and wide. Slightly lean forward as well. getting out of breath today, using heavy weights, heavier weights, normal. Few more left. And releasing down, so we just take our weight, look back where it needs to go, and then next exercise is a squat. So just going to get my breath back a minute. So getting your squat position, feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, and then squatting down, just checking I've started the timer. Keep it going. I think we're over halfway. This is when we'd normally stop if we were doing 40 seconds. And we're going to release down, so getting your weight back on the floor, and then coming down into a press-up position. So I'll press up to row. I think I'm going to take need to get my breath back, so I'm going to take an easier option this time. So pressing up and tapping to the shoulder. Looking down at the floor, trying to minimize that rocking from side to side. So we're imagining that our back is a sort of tabletop, trying to keep it as stable as it can be. It will move, it's okay, you know, it will move from side to side, but just try and make it a little bit less. A few more left. And that's the last one. And then we're going to come into our mountain climbers. So I'm just going to push back again, just to give a little bit of a break, because it's quite a bit of core all in one. So just release a little bit before we start the mountain climbers. Okay, so coming into that plank position, pressing the feet, toes into the floor, and just bringing those knees in between. So making space for those knees to come in between your hands. Okay, we're halfway through, so just to mix it up a bit, we'll take them so that outside of the elbows. And then in between the hands again. Stick with it. We've not got long left. Got 10 seconds left. Take them to the outside of the elbows. Stabilizing through the shoulders. And release down. Well done. Brilliant. So that was our last mountain climber set. So be glad to know. We're going to come back up to standing and into our single leg deadlift. So if you need a weight or if you don't have to use one, I'm going to that position and then Arm out for balance. Stepping forward and leaning. If you want to touch down with that foot in between, you can do, or you can leave it kind of hovering off the floor for extra balance work. If you find you're pretty stable now in this position, see if you can challenge yourself a little bit. So our head stays in line with the spine as well as we move through this range of motion. And that's the last one. So then we'll swap to the other side. Arm out for balance, just focus. Get yourself ready. Sometimes it's the setting up for the exercise that makes a big difference. Kind of visualizing what you're going to do. Ooh, a little bit wobbly there. Keeping the hips nice and level. And also try and relax in the face. Sometimes when you're finding things hard, we tend to kind of tense up in the jaw or other areas. And this is your last one. Okay, well done. Brilliant. So what we'll do, we'll come down onto our knees. And just, if this is okay for your knees, you know, if you don't have problems, then this is going to be our quad stretch. If this hurts your knees in any way, then you can do a normal quad stretch. You could lie on your side like this and just press the hips forward on both sides. But if you're okay with your knees and this doesn't hurt, then we can try this exercise. So, or this way of releasing. We're going to just sit back on our heels and then just press the hips up. So you should feel a stretch in the quads here. You might need to press up more or push into your fingertips just to feel something down the front of the thighs. And we're also opening up across the chest here, so we're getting a bit of a chest stretch too. So just breathing here, now holding, trying to release. And then we'll come down and just go forwards now. So you can sit back on your heels and then walk the hands forward as much as you can. Place your forehead on the floor. And then as you breathe in, feel the whole of the back, the upper back expanding, and you can feel that area releasing as well. Okay, we'll take one more breath here. And then we'll just walk the hands back and take the feet out in the front. So we will take our feet in a cross-legged position, not cross-legged, feet together, and hips, knees out to the side. And then we can have our feet, we'll have our feet a little way away from us here. So you've got a kind of diamond shape in between. And then reach forward with your chest and your chin, so we're kind of extending through the chest and the chin, and then releasing down, holding onto the toes, and then we can release the head last as well. So you may feel that in your inner thigh or your glutes, the upper back. There's all sorts of places that you might feel this. Okay, we'll take a couple more breaths here. You can always come back to this any other time as well. Okay, and then we'll just do our last release through the backs of the legs. So bring your right foot in towards your groin and your left foot out away from you. And then we're just going to turn towards that left leg and try and reach over towards it. Now you may be able to hold your toe, you may be able to hold your calf, your ankle. I'm not going to be able to get very far. You can, if you are extremely tight at the backs of the legs like me, you can press your hands behind you, lift your chest up and reach forward, and then you will be able, as long as you can feel something, some kind of release here, it's all good. We don't need to be aiming to get anywhere. This is about where you are and where you can feel something. So we'll take 3 breaths, deep breaths in and out here. Every time you breathe out, see if you can move a little further into it. And one last one, deep breath in. And long breath out. Releasing if you can. Okay, and then we're going to change sides. So just straightening the right leg. Dear. I don't like doing this stretch. I have to force myself to do it. And then we're turning towards, looking at that straightened leg. And then we're reaching forward with the chin and the chest again, trying to make the movement come from the hips. Feeling that nice release in the backs of the legs. Okay, so we're going to take 3 nice deep breaths in and out, and every time you breathe out, trying to release a little bit further if you can. So breathing in and breathing out, see if you can release. Breathing in and out. And breathing in and out. Okay, brilliant. You can just bring your legs back to a comfortable position now. And thank you for joining me again, and I will see you again soon. Have a good day.